US pharma company Moderna has seen its stock drop about 50% in the past year. Now, the shares are up a little bit today. The company is talking about cost cutting. Our guest has a neutral rating on the shares. We're joined by Jeff Meacham, Managing Director in Biotech Pharma Equity Research at Citi. Jeff, thanks very much indeed for joining us.
Thanks, Andrew, for having me.
Moderna, of course, famous for its COVID vaccine. Is that still a huge part of its business?
In early May 2026, 3 people died on a cruise ship from a virus most people had never heard of. Within 48 hours, one company's stock had surged 22%. That company was Moderna. And for a few wild days, it felt like 2020 all over again. A terrifying new virus, a panicked market, and one biotech firm suddenly positioned to save the day and make a fortune doing it. But here's what the headlines missed. Moderna had already lost 90% of its stock value since its COVID peak. It posted a $1.3 billion loss in Q1 of 2026. Its COVID revenue, which hit $18.5 billion in a single year, had almost completely dried up. The Hantavirus spike was not a sign of strength. It was a desperate market looking for a reason to believe in a company that had not found its second act. So is Moderna a revolutionary platform on the verge of its next breakthrough? Or is it a one-hit wonder burning through cash while it prays for another pandemic? That question starts with understanding how this company was built and what it was really designed to do. Section 1. The idea that nobody believed. Moderna was founded on September 16, 2010. And almost nobody took it seriously. The origin story begins with a Lebanese refugee who fled Beirut civil war at 13 years old. Nobar Fayan was born in 1962 to Armenian parents whose families had survived the Armenian genocide. He grew up in Lebanon, fled to Canada as a teenager, earned a PhD in biochemical engineering at MIT, and started his first company at 24. By 2000, he had founded Flagship Pioneering, a venture capital firm that did not just fund biotech companies. It created them from scratch, building the science first and asking commercial questions later. In 2010, Fayan met with MIT professor Robert Langer and Harvard biologist Eric Rossi, who had been doing groundbreaking work on messenger RNA, a molecule that carries genetic instructions to cells. The idea was audacious. Instead of making drugs the traditional way, what if you could give the body instructions to make its own medicine? Use mRNA as an operating system for human biology. Every expert they spoke to said it was theoretically interesting and practically impossible. The molecule was too unstable, too difficult to deliver, too dangerous. Immune systems would attack it. The whole field had essentially been abandoned. Fayan and his team decided to build a company around it anyway. They named it ModRNA for modified RNA, later shortened to Moderna. In 2011, they recruited a French executive named Stéphane Bancel as CEO. Bancel had been running a diagnostics company in France with no direct mRNA experience. What he had was the ability to build a machine, a company culture obsessed with speed, secrecy, and scale. Moderna operated in near-total stealth for years, revealing almost nothing about its pipeline. A 2016 investigation called it the most secretive startup in biotech and raised serious questions about whether its science actually worked. In 2018, Moderna went public at $23 a share, the largest biotech IPO in history at the time. Wall Street was unconvinced. No approved products, no revenue, a mountain of promises. Then COVID arrived, and everything changed overnight. Section 2. The Room. January 11th, 2020. Chinese scientists published the genetic sequence of a new coronavirus. Bancel reads it. Within hours, Moderna scientists are designing a vaccine. 4 to 2 days later, they shipped their first clinical batch. For context, normal vaccine development takes 10 to 15 years. Moderna did it in 42 days to first clinical batch, and full emergency authorization in under 12 months. Nothing like it had ever happened. And they were not alone. BioNTech, a small German biotech that had been working on mRNA cancer therapies, had partnered with Pfizer to run the exact same race. Both companies used the same foundational technology. Pfizer-BioNTech got authorized on December 11th, Moderna followed on December 18th, 7 days apart. The fact that Moderna competed with one of the largest pharmaceutical companies on Earth and essentially tied tells you everything about what they had built. The US government pumped nearly $2.5 billion into Moderna through Operation Warp Speed. The vaccine came in at roughly 94% effective against the original strain. What followed was the most dramatic financial transformation in biotech history. Revenue went from essentially zero to $18.5 billion in 2021, almost all from a single product. The stock went from under $20 to nearly $500 at its peak in August 2021, a gain of over 2,500%. Moderna briefly became a nearly $200 billion company. Bansel's personal net worth hit roughly $10 billion at the peak. Afein's flagship pioneering stake was worth billions more. The mRNA platform that nobody believed in had just saved millions of lives and generated more money in 2 years than most pharmaceutical companies make in a decade. Section 3. The crash. Then came the hangover. COVID vaccine demand fell as the pandemic wound down. Competing vaccines eroded market share. Governments canceled pre-orders. Stockpiles were full. The urgency was gone. Revenue went from $18.5 billion in 2021 to $6.2 billion in 2022, then kept falling. The stock lost roughly 90% of its value from its peak. By early 2026, shares were trading back in the $20 to $30 range, right where they started before COVID. Bansel's $10 billion paper fortune had largely evaporated along with it. The legal problems piled up fast. The NIH argued it co-invented the core lipid nanoparticle delivery system at the heart of the vaccine and deserved royalties. Moderna refused. In an extraordinary move, the NIH began licensing those same patents to competitors for free, essentially weaponizing Moderna's own foundational technology to erode its market position. On top of that, ongoing litigation over vaccine-related cardiac conditions added to the burden. A first quarter 2026 net loss of $1.3 billion. The fundamental question the market had been asking for 2 years was now screaming. Was COVID a one-time event that happened to validate mRNA? Or was Moderna's platform genuinely the future of medicine? The Hantavirus headlines arrived at exactly this moment of maximum uncertainty. Section 4. The Hantavirus playbook. Here is what actually happened in early May 2026. 8 people on the MV Hantavirus cruise ship, departing Argentina, contracted the Andes strain of Hantavirus. 3 died. The Andes strain has a fatality rate of around 38%, and unlike most Hantavirus strains, has demonstrated limited person-to-person transmission in rare cases. That last detail sent headlines into overdrive. Simultaneously, news surfaced that Moderna had been running preclinical research on a Hantavirus vaccine, early-stage work done in collaboration with the U.S. Army and Korea University's Vaccine Innovation Center. Not in human trials, not close to approval, just early research, the kind of small bet a platform company makes on dozens of potential threats simultaneously. The market connected those two facts and reacted. Moderna's stock surged 22% in 2 days. Retail traders piled in. Social media erupted with both optimism and conspiracy theories about manufactured crises and pharma profiteering. But analysts were almost immediately clear. This was not a bet on Hantavirus. Hantavirus infects roughly 150,000 to 200,000 people globally per year. No mass market. Other companies had looked at it and walked away because there is simply no commercial logic to it. What the market was doing was replaying the COVID playbook. Scary new virus plus Moderna plus mRNA platform equals by the stock. The surge was a vote of confidence in the platform, not a rational assessment of the Hantavirus opportunity. Within days, as the outbreak failed to spread, the stock gave back most of the gains. Section 5. What actually matters? The Hantavirus noise will fade. The real story for Moderna in 2026 comes down to 3 things. First, the respiratory franchise. Its standalone flu vaccine mRNA 1010 is approaching approval. Its combination flu and COVID shot mRNA 1083 hit a procedural FDA snag requiring more data. A delay? Not a death sentence, but a setback in a competitive market where Pfizer is running the same race. Second, the revenue math. Even if the respiratory pipeline performs, analysts estimate a few $1 billion annually at peak. Meaningful, but nowhere near the $18.5 billion COVID peak. The company needs something much bigger. That something bigger is the cancer vaccine. In partnership with Merck, Moderna is developing mRNA 4157, also called V940, a personalized cancer therapy where a vaccine is custom-built for each patient based on the unique genetic fingerprint of their tumor. The early data has been genuinely stunning. In a phase 2 trial for high-risk melanoma, combining it with Merck's blockbuster drug Keytruda cut the risk of cancer recurrence or death by 49% after 3 years. It is now in phase 3 trials for melanoma and lung cancer, with key data expected in 2026. If that data holds, the cancer vaccine would not just save Moderna. It would validate the entire mRNA platform for oncology and open a market that could eventually dwarf the COVID vaccine windfall. If it does not hold, the Bays win. A company burning nearly $5 billion a year in operating expenses, with no blockbuster revenue in sight, running out of time. The Hantavirus spike was a test, not of Moderna's science, but of the market psychology. What it showed is that investors still believe in the platform, even when the specific disease does not warrant it. The market has not written Moderna off. It is watching, waiting, looking for a reason to believe again. The founders built this company on an idea the entire scientific establishment said was impossible. A Lebanese refugee who fled a civil war, an MIT professor, a Harvard biologist, a French CEO who shipped a vaccine in 42 days. They proved mRNA worked. They proved it could scale. They proved it could save lives at a speed nobody thought was achievable. The question now is whether the second act, the cancer vaccine, the flu franchise, the next platform bet, can match what they built the first time. The Hantavirus headlines will fade. Watch mRNA 4157. Watch the phase 3 data. That is where Moderna's future actually gets written. Drop your take in the comments. Do you think the cancer vaccine is Moderna's real second act? Or was the COVID boom a once-in-a-generation event that cannot be repeated? Because I have seen smart people land hard on both sides of that one. Subscribe to Stag Research for more breakdowns like this. The real story behind the company's reshaping medicine, finance, and the global economy.